Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to cancel light. In order to understand how this is working, we have to first understand how waves reflect. And I'd like to thank Fabulous for sponsoring this video. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later on. I have something here called a double helix machine. What this has is a bunch of metal balls and they're separated by a thin rod, and then in the center is this plastic strip. So what happens is when you twist one of the rods, you can send a wave down it. Now I have a motor at the top that can send a wave down this. So as it starts, the balls are moving in the clockwise direction. Then as it hits the bottom, it reflects off of the bottom even though there's nothing there, and it goes back up and the balls keep moving in the clockwise direction. Now let's do it again. Okay, they're spinning clockwise coming down. But instead of letting it be free at the bottom, we're going to hold it with our hand. So it's going to be fixed at the bottom. So the wave still reflects, but notice how the balls went counterclockwise instead of clockwise this time. So when it reflected, the balls turned the opposite direction now. In a wave like this, it's moving really slow so we can see it very clearly what's happening. And it's also easy to understand the mechanics behind it. When we're not holding it, the balls can keep moving the same direction because there's nothing to stop them moving that direction. But if we're holding it, then the balls have to stop and move the opposite direction because we held on to the end of it. I can show this a little bit clearer when I use waves that aren't twisting, but they're moving straight through the air. So I have a Slinky on my garage floor here. Don't mind my ferrofluid stain here, that was from a different experiment. For the first experiment, I'm not gonna fix the end of the Slinky, so it's gonna be able to move up and down like this. You can see that when it's free to move on one end, the wave still reflects and the peak stays on the same side. So the wave didn't get flipped. Just like in our spinning experiment, the wave kept going the same clockwise direction. But if I fix it on one end, then you can see that it actually flips it, so the peak goes on the other side. So what would happen is if I added these two waves together, they would exactly cancel out. Now whether something is fixed or free to move on the end, in physics it's called a hard or soft boundary. Now in real life, there's no perfectly hard or perfectly soft boundary. Everything is kind of a mixture between the two. So what happens with a wave reflection when you have a little bit soft and a little bit hard? Well, I can actually replicate what happens if you have a boundary that's in between hard and soft. I just connect two springs together that have different masses to them. So in the small spring, the wave speed will move faster, and in the large spring, the wave speed will move slower. So when you go from slow to fast wave speed, the reflection doesn't flip. But if you go from fast wave speed to slow wave speed, it does flip. So the part that's important here is when you're going from high speed to low speed, the reflected wave gets flipped. But when you're going from low speed to high speed, the reflected wave doesn't get flipped. Now for electromagnetic waves or light, you'll remember that light moves different speeds through different mediums. So if you shine light through vacuum, it moves the fastest. If you add air to it, it slows the light down a little bit. If you add water to it, it slows it down even more. So let's say we have light shining on a liquid like water. That means it's going from a higher speed to a lower speed. So that means it's going to be a hard reflection, so it's going to be 180 degrees out of phase. But if we had light going from water to air, then we would have a soft reflection, and so there wouldn't be phase change. So that means we know how to reflect light that has a regular phase and reflect light that has a 180 degree phase change. So that means if we're able to take a beam of light that reflects off of water and add it to a beam of light that reflects off of air, then if we add them together, we should get nothing, no light at all, because the electromagnetic waves exactly cancel each other out. But here's the hard part. You have to get those beams of light in the exact same place in order for them to cancel out. So how do you do that? So first, in order to do this, we have to have a surface of air to water and then a surface of water to air. Now that's pretty easy. We can just make a bubble. Now in a bubble, you have air, liquid, air. And so the light that hits the outside of the bubble, some of it will be reflected and some of it will pass through. The amount that passes through will be reflected off the bottom surface as well. But because the beam that went through the water had to travel a further distance, by the time it hit the bottom and came back up, it was already back in phase with the initial reflected beam. The thickness of that liquid layer can actually control the constructive and destructive interference of those two light rays. This is the reason why we see color on soap bubbles. When there's destructive interference of one of the specific wavelengths of light, depending on the thickness of that bubble, then that light won't be present in the white light, so we'll see a type of colored light. But if we can get that liquid layer thin enough, then the distance between the top and bottom reflective layers won't be that much. And so it will essentially be that we can cancel out both of the light rays. And so instead of constructive and destructive interference, all we're going to get is destructive interference. So I have some wire here and I'm going to dunk it in this bucket of soapy water. And so I'll get my thin film across this wire here. So it will go air, liquid, air. And then I'm going to have this white light here reflecting off of that, and I'm going to catch the reflection in the camera. Okay, let's see if I can get a good film here. And I'm going to hold it from the side so that gravity will eventually thin out the liquid layer. So on the bottom it's going to be the thickest, at the top it's going to be the thinnest. So if this works right, hopefully what we'll see is a dark spot that doesn't reflect any light whatsoever, even though there's still a film there. Okay, there it goes. Look at the top. You can see it forming at the top where it's the thinnest. It's completely black, no light reflected at all. So that means that the reflections gradually get increasingly larger phase shifts. But then as we get towards the top, notice that you don't see any color at all. In fact, you don't see any light being reflected at all. This is the portion of the soap film where we've completely canceled out the electromagnetic wave. So we've made no reflection of light. So this is really cool. If you take two rays of light that are out of phase with each other, just like any other wave, they'll completely cancel out so you don't get any wave at all. Before we continue our experiment, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Fabulous. It's an award-winning app that helps create long-lasting change into your daily routine. Fabulous is based on behavioral science. It breaks down scientifically proven healthy habits into very small tasks that you can easily achieve every single day. Since I've been using the Fabulous app, I can honestly say that I've felt better every day. What I love about Fabulous is it's not an app that makes you feel bad about yourself and force you to change, but it actually makes you feel good about yourself, and because of that, you want to change. You can see my daily goals here. One thing that I love is the daily coaching. These are just positive messages that help you continue with your goals and move forward with less stress and more resolve to improve. You can have notifications turned on or off. You can make guided goals or make your own goals based on specifically what you want to improve. You can focus on professional development or your studies, or just overall improve your mindfulness. Whatever you're trying to improve, Fabulous can help you. The first 100 people who click the link in my description will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription. Or you can go to thefab.co/theactionlab. Hey everyone, thanks for watching another episode of The Action Lab. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and you can also hit the bell so you can be notified when I release my latest video. And check out Action Lab Shorts if you haven't yet. It's a channel similar to this one, but I do videos in under a minute. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.